And now you're going to talk about fasting.
I am going to talk about fasting. Fast. There you go. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I podcasted about a stake that was having I think it was just a ward. It was having a Christmas to Easter continual fast. They had been inspired by some of the second coming rhetoric in the last conference and a few talks, and they wanted to unleash the power of the Lord in their ward. And hey, that kind of rhymes. And so they had come up with this plan, which is the first time I'd heard of this, where at least one person every day would be continually fasting between, I think it was Christmas Eve to Easter, because we made the jokes, who's going to be the one that volunteers for New Year's and Valentine's Day? You're asking someone to fast on these holidays. So, and I think all of us made the prediction that this is not the last that we're going to hear of this. This idea is going to catch fire.
You said that specifically. And
yeah.
Madam, I perceive that thou art a prophetess.
Yes, I feel like in some ways I am a prophetess, although about really strange things. I wish I could predict other things. So anyway, I came across over the last couple of weeks. Yes, indeed, this is happening. In this case, these are some stakes in a mission area, and Elder Bednar is the one that's leading the charge here. And he has instructed them to have a continual fast. It's going to be, I think it started on the 6th. It's going up until I think the 27th or 28th of February. They've, of course, instructed them at that next Sunday to have a big old meeting where they talk about all the miracles that they saw during this time. But for those of you that don't understand this concept of a continual fast, they basically assign wards to have people volunteer to cover every single day. So there's not a single day during this prescribed time period by Elder Bednar in which a person is not fasting. And you better not be that person, right? If you sign up, can you imagine ruining everything because you didn't do it?
I can imagine that.
I know my problem with it, of course, is that I tried to picture if this would have happened when I was a kid. I guarantee my family, my parents would have signed me up for multiple days of fasting.
Mm-hmm.
I also guarantee that my parents would have been concerned. I wonder if someone's skipping today. I think I better fast just to cover it. It just brings out the scrupulosity, this OCD, I believe. But the idea is, you can't read it very well there, but it's going to unleash opportunities for missionary work. You're supposed to fast to have the bravery to approach people. Yeah, it's kind of blurry. And then it gives this particular stake where I got this from. They're supposed to have people sign up, looks like, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they've already done their part, but it's a multi-stake thing. And again, it's Elder Bednar that is said to do this. So like I said, this is catching on, this idea that you have to have somebody fasting on your behalf or for something to happen throughout a certain time period. So not to be outdone, even more fasting. Here is another stake. Now, this is a leadership meeting. Somebody, again, I can't stress this strongly enough. Faithful LDS members send us things that they would like to see maybe some commentary on, see covered. These are great people. And they're just like, you know what? Maybe we need to talk about this, because I think they recognize that a lot of change or awareness happens from outside, right? Those of us that are more on the outside, still Mormon, I am. But, by bringing things into the spotlight, maybe some changes here. So these leadership slides, wow, this ward is telling it how it is. They are not holding anything back. Look at their sacrament meeting attendance. It's hovering there at about, 20%. You've got your convert baptisms, a little bump, but then everything's sliding down.
Is that for the prior year? I'm sorry.
Is that I can't see it anymore. It's way too small and blurry. And it was kind of weird and misleading where it was, but you can see the way the graph is going. I wrote this. I said, this stake's leadership is taking things seriously in the new year. They are more transparent about their actual stats than the church is. Under 20% attendance at sacrament meeting, convert baptisms down, and endowed members with temple recommends under 60%. The steps they are taking to improve things include holding a fast. Okay, remember the last one was for, Christmas to Easter. The one I just showed you was for a period of several weeks. These guys are going to do it for a year. And not just one person. They're going to make sure that 2 people are fasting every day for a year from this stake. It's happening.
They're not taking
now.
any chances. They're wearing a belt and suspenders.
Nope. This is belt and suspenders fasting. You called it RFM. This is great. And so they have a whole thing they're going to roll out. your ward or stake takes a month, and then you're responsible for getting all the people. In that Christmas to Easter fast, they had like a sign-up genie. It was all on an app. It was very organized, which I thought would lead to more OCD from people checking that, seeing if there's a slot that's open. And then they have a whole list of how to build Zion in the new year. And one of them, of course, includes fasting for the stake. And they're fasting for the purpose of, the stake and the cities and the towns and just, general improvement on these stats. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think very quickly? What is this about this fasting? I don't know. I have never heard of this before. This was not a concept. And now it just seems to be snowballing.
Here's what I think. First off, competition. Second off, we're trying desperately to get God's attention because God knows nothing has been working so far.
That could be it. And like I've said before, when we talk to our temple building towns, the residents there who are members of other denominations, of course, they've heard of fasting. Jesus fasted, Moses fasted, but they're just scratching their heads at why all the LDS members not eating for a day would soften their hearts or make them pass something through their city council. It just seems to be two unrelated things. And when they see those letters that we often post about, let's fast for, Cody or Heber, or whatever, they just can't fathom the connection there of why to do this. So I don't know. What do you think, Bill?
Somebody once said, and it's actually profound, at least to me it is, that thoughts and prayers are actually the absolute least you can do for someone. Sending your thoughts and prayers, it's the least you can do. And starving with a prayer to start it and end it might even be less.
It might be. And again, I don't see too much different between saying I'm going to turn in a circle 3 times and then I'm going to bow to the sun. I mean, it's an incantation, it's a spell, it's some kind of action, it's a ritual. When you feel helpless, powerless. Right now here in Utah, we are fasting and praying for moisture, my least favorite word. That word actually was voted the least attractive word in the English language, and I agree with that, moisture. But when you feel helpless and there is nothing you can do, it's out of your control, and if you're not comfortable with randomness, I think these are the things that you do.
Can I just observe that fasting is on the same continuum as human sacrifice?
It is.
The whole point of it is.
No joke.
The whole point of it is to do something that causes suffering, because that is what appeases God. He gets off on the blood. He gets off on the suffering. And fasting may just be human sacrifice 1.0, but it's the exact same idea at play. We're going to intentionally make ourselves suffer so that God will give us what it is we want.
Yep. And I think the deprivation makes you feel like you are actively doing something to make a difference. You're not being thrown into a volcano. You don't have to go that far, but you can be hungry for 24 hours and it's going to make a difference. And you're doing it for other people too. It's not just you. You're part of this team. You can't let people down. So I find it a very unhealthy practice, but I'm going to be a prophetess again. I predict we're going to see more. I think this is going to take off for all kinds of reasons. Already we've seen missionary work. We've seen unleashing the power of the Lord. We've seen, increased temple attendance and sacrament meeting attendance. You can pick anything.
Yes, you can. It's the wonder of fasting.
That is the wonder of fasting. All right.
Was that the end of your story, Rebecca? Or are you going to hand it back?